Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the Woo Curious podcast. Your map to the mystical, your key to the sacred, and your guide back home to yourself. I'm Eileen, a writer, a spiritual coach, energy healer, and slow living witch. This podcast is your invitation to explore a world where the mundane and the sacred intertwine. It's a haven for those ready to take the first steps into the realms of magic and mystery, providing a safe space for you to embark on your own enchanted journey towards healing and self-discovery. Here, I'll unveil the whispers of the mystical, the rituals often hidden in plain sight, and I'll engage in sacred conversation intended to stir your soul and lead you back into your power. I'm all about demystifying woo and witchcraft. So, whether you're a seasoned seeker or simply woo curious, I'm so delighted you've decided to join me on this journey. Let's make magic. Hey Woo Crew, before we drop into today's episode, I wanted to share that I am, fairly last minute, reopening the doors to a new cohort of Unleash Your Inner Witch. After wrapping up the last cohort just a little while ago, I received enough inquiries to make me feel like perhaps May was an auspicious time to begin again. So if you've been curious about this space, if you've been feeling the pull to journey home to your body, to the earth, to a different way of moving in the world, one that is outside of the hustle and push and productivity focused mania of our culture, I cordially invite you to step in to this next cohort with us. All the details can be found over on my website, myluminouslife.ca/unleashyourinnerwitch. And as always, penalty-free payment plans are available. Please don't hesitate to reach out should you have any questions whatsoever. I hope to see you inside. Hello, and welcome back, Woo Crew, to another episode of the Woo Curious podcast. I am your host, Eileen, and I'm here today with another very special guest, Dawn Phoenix. Dawn is an intuition ignition catalyst, helping heart-centered, multi-passionate entrepreneurs who feel stuck and frustrated to connect to the inner wisdom of their business, uncovering the hidden areas that need attention. Founder of the Phoenix Rising community and member of a powerful collaborative of thought leaders and experts, she provides her clients with the next actionable steps and personalized support to reach their goals efficiently and effectively. She's also the founder of the Starseed Leadership Alliance. Dawn started this private Discord community to gather with and support the emerging leaders of the new earth. A sought-after speaker, she's been featured on numerous podcasts and summits. We're so thrilled to have her on ours. She's a former teacher with a Master of Teaching and holds certifications in clinical hypnotherapy, dolphin energy healing, healing touch for animals, and animal communication. She's also a channel, intuitive musician, and international best-selling author with 5 titles out. Welcome, Dawn, to the Woo Curious podcast. So delighted to have you here.
Eileen, thank you so much. I am so delighted to be here with you today and everybody.
Yeah, and I actually didn't share with you the one question that I always come prepared with that I start with every guest. So I'm just going to spring it on you now. It's a fun one. Because this is the Woo Curious podcast, because my own journey into spirituality and woo happened later in life, I'm always so curious to learn a little bit about my guests' spiritual journeys, their spiritual path, their relationship with the woo, and how it perhaps led them to or influences the work that they do now.
Okay, I love this question because I love telling this story. So I was, I think, 36 years old. It was back in 2014, and I was with a friend who was getting his beloved dog euthanized. And up to this particular point in my life, I had heard of metaphysical stuff and tarot card readings, but it hadn't touched my life. I wasn't, into that kind of stuff. I just didn't know anything about it. I wasn't raised in a religious family that shunned it. It's just, we didn't even go to church. I didn't have anything in my life like that. So it was like starting from scratch, ground zero. So I went with him, and She was a Great Pyrenees Border Collie mix, and her name was Dolly,
Oh.
and she had cancer. So he was having to carry her outside for her to go to the bathroom, and she couldn't walk. And so he just knew it was time. And I went with him, and I had my own dog euthanized, and I knew from that experience that I didn't want to be facing her face. I wanted to be behind Dolly. So
Mm.
I was just petting her head, and I had my left hand at the back of her head and my right hand
Mm-hmm.
just sort of on her neck. And I was just petting her.
Mm-hmm.
And he was at her face, stroking her muzzle and telling her he loved her. And it was just very sweet. And I saw the vet come and give her the syringe. And after that,
Mm-hmm.
I closed my eyes and I was just petting her. And all of a sudden, this presence fills me up, comes through my hands and my arms, up through my chest, up through my head, and out the top of my head. And as I'm experiencing this, the only thought that I have is, how does something that big fit in a body that small? And I had no
Mm-hmm.
cognitive idea of what was going on, but on an awareness level, I knew that this was the process of her soul leaving her body. And apparently, she was sharing that with me. And I
Wow.
should probably interject at this point that my greatest fear since probably birth that I can remember was dying, was death. Since we didn't go to church, I had like no real, as a child, no real idea of what God was all about or what heaven was.
Right.
And it always scared me because my concept of death was all that I saw. We get shut up in a box, thrown in
Yeah.
the ground, or tossed in a fire, and that's it. We're ended. And
Yeah.
there was, I think, a part of my consciousness that just knew that was wrong, and that came out as fear in my childhood. And so I had anxiety where I would go to sleep at night, and when I would lay down, I would just start panicking and be like, I don't want to go to sleep. I don't want to go to sleep, because I likened that to death. And I would just think about dying and the
Right.
concept of me being no more. And it just,
Mm-hmm.
and even into adulthood, I suffered from that. And so when this happened, Dolly showed me what it's like to go home.
Right.
And it was the most profound experience of my life. And I've given birth. So I'm saying, like, that's pretty big. And that's not to like poo
Yeah.
poo on that, but to feel what it's like for the soul, the portion of the soul that is embodied in
Mm-hmm.
whatever physical form it
Mm-hmm.
is, to be released and then to journey back and be received into the love where it comes from. It literally changed my life in that moment. So she was gone, and I opened my eyes and I just hit the ground. My body was
Oh,
just overwhelmed with everything that had happened. And my
yeah.
friend actually had to carry me out wrapped in a blanket. The vet's office gave him a blanket. They just thought I passed out. Like, oh, she was overwhelmed. She passed out. He carried me to his truck,
Right.
and it was an hour ride back home. And I slept for 3 hours after that. And it was so just to be integrating all of that. And after that, no more fear of death. It was
Yeah.
gone.
Fair.
I was like, I know what that is. There's nothing that
Yeah.
I fear now. It's beautiful. I've never felt loved so much in my entire life. So after that happened, I started meditating. And then I had an out of body experience while I was meditating. And that was beautiful. Again, it was another return home to feel the love
Mm-hmm.
that actually we don't get to experience around us because we're not aware of it. We're actually aware of less than 1% of what's really around us. And to feel that love all around me was just confirmation. And after that, my gifts just started coming online. I was like, hey, my hands want to do things. And I went and I learned healing touch for animals. And then I became an animal communicator, and it just went on. And I wanted to dive deeper and learn more and do all the things. So it was from Dolly. And I wrote a short story called Dolly's Gift. So
Amazing. Oh, that's such a cool experience to have, like that pivotal moment, that really clear, defined, like this is when it changed. I'm really curious if there was any kind of discomfort or difficulty as you started to integrate that newfound understanding and awareness into your life. Up to that point, you know, you had presumably friends, family, I don't know if you were partnered already, who knew you as this one version of you. And then there's this big shift that happens, this awareness that opens, this dive into a very different part of life in a lot of ways. And if that was difficult to navigate at all.
Well, yes, absolutely. Everything. And I mean, everything in my life changed. I was married at the time, and we had a son together. And we were already experiencing challenges because he was military and there had been a deployment, which already took a hit, to our relationship. And after this, it became clear that I was headed on my path, but he was not. And he was not able to. And it's not that to say if your partner or people in your life aren't on the same path you are. I mean, nobody is, but it was such that it was irreconcilable. So we decided after a couple months that, divorce was necessary, because we were okay with the marriage crumbling, but our friendship is what started suffering. And we were like, okay, we can't have this. We value our friendship too much. So, and we did not want our son, to see any arguing or any disrespect between us, because we did respect each other. So when our son was 6 years old, we sat him down and we explained to him what was happening. And we knew that he wanted to live with his dad. He was his dad's mini me, and I was the oddball out. The stay-at-home mom, the one who did all of the chores and the laundry and the taxi to and from school, and the supporter of, the military officer. But I was never my own person. I wasn't known as Dawn.
Right.
And so, so I was in that support role, and I was always, on the outside looking in. So we knew that he would choose his dad, but we wanted to give him the choice. And because we didn't want to have him be shuttled between us. We didn't know where his dad was going to go for his next and last station. And I didn't know if I'd be able to follow. I was a stay-at-home mom. I didn't have my own money. So just let this be a warning to everybody out there. Always make sure, no matter what your status is, that you have something tucked away for yourself in case of an emergency, because you never know. I absolutely got caught with my pants down. So we sat him down, and he chose his dad. And he was like, Mom, I love you, but I want to be with Dad. And I said, I totally understand. And the reason we don't want to split you is we don't want you to have to travel, even by airplane, back and forth between the two of us. So that was our family decision, and we were all comfortable with it. And I mean, my son was sad. He cried, obviously. It wasn't a party for anybody, but, we did it with respect and with love. And when we were filling out the divorce papers, I moved out, and because I couldn't get my own apartment, they said alimony is not a source of income. You need work. And I said, well, I'm working on that. I was getting my healing business up and running, but I wasn't bringing in enough income to pay for rent. So I was living in my friend's basement while her husband was deployed, helping her take care of her 2-year-old. So I was lucky enough to have that. So I would go over once a week for dinner, visit with my son, and we would fill out the paperwork when he would go to bed. So, it was respectful and loving. And my Earth family could not reconcile the path I was going either. And when Bruce, my then husband, and I decided that divorce was what was necessary to save our friendship, my mother disowned me. And she said that I was a terrible person, I was a horrible mother and a terrible wife, and that I was selfish. And she wanted nothing to do with me. So she took the trust that was going to be left to me eventually, and she put it in my son's name. She disowned me. She refused to speak to me. And that was, yep, still happening. And the rest of my family followed suit. They just said, we don't know what to do with you, Dawn. You're not mainstream. And that was that. So I have been creating my family since then around me wherever I go. So it was difficult. It was difficult. And I remember being terrified that everybody would think I was a horrible mother because my mother thought so. And
Right.
I was the mom who would drop my son off at school and pick him up. He went to a Montessori school, but it was public. This was in Colorado Springs, wonderful school. But because anybody could go to it from around town, there was no bus system. So you were dropping off and picking up. And so all of a sudden, when that changed, and since my soon-to-be ex worked, for the Air Force, he was not there to drop off and pick up. So my son had to go to a before and after school program. And, when that changed, I said, well, what are the moms going to think now of me all of a sudden just disappearing like that? And I saw one of them in the grocery store, and I wanted to run to a different aisle because I was like, oh God, here it comes. And she just passed by me. She was like, oh, Dawn, she's like, how are you doing? She said, I heard about everything and I've been thinking about you. Are you okay? And she was just all love. And I was like, oh my God, she doesn't hate me. And I was just waiting for it. And she was just all love and said, if you need anything at all. And there was no judgment, no nothing. And so I got to breathe and say, okay, I'm not a horrible person. I didn't do the wrong thing. And even if someone did think I did, it's not to say that I did do the wrong thing, but we have that fear. When a mother gives up full custody of her child, what does that say, in the society we live in today?
And even just if a woman chooses her own happiness and her own inner truth and knowing, chooses to put her well-being first. It is that sense of like, well, that's selfish. If a man does it, it's expected and we're supposed to support him. And that's that patriarchal conditioning and overstructure that we have been steeped in for centuries, that I think that the brave women like you who have had that realization and have taken those really courageous steps to say, no, I have to follow my path. That's the change makers, right? That's the rock in the pond that sends the ripples out, that creates change and the ability to hope for so many others.
You hope. Yeah. And that's exactly what I was experiencing, because I just felt my soul literally was just dying inside of me. And that's why I was like, okay, this is a drastic move, but I have to do it, because otherwise I will die. There will just be one day that I'm not here. I will just disappear. And so when I made that decision immediately, and that was one of the first times I remember ever following my intuition and having no other guidance, other than my intuition, but it was speaking so strongly that I had to. And after that, I realized, okay, I can still love my child. I will never not be his mother, but I'm here to serve an even greater purpose than motherhood, which floored me, but it's what was. So I had to do that.
Yeah. And it makes so much sense that the path you ended up following was one of assisting others to tune into that intuition, because our intuition is our inner power, right? It's our connection to our inner wisdom and our truth. And especially in female bodies as women, we've been told that it's not a valid way of knowing. And it is, irrational or selfish to follow it. And that's a falsity that's been very ingrained in us. And so it makes so much sense that your ability to hear and then need to follow that intuition gave you the tools and the processes to help others tune into theirs.
Yeah. And I think that's how the universe, ensures that the people who are qualified to do the work that we do, are the ones who show up. Because unfortunately, also, as you know, in this arena, there are people who are not, aligned with the truth. And so it's, you
Yeah.
have to be very careful, who you're receiving information from.
Yeah, there's a lot of dark in the love and light community as well, for sure. Space for that, and as there is in all humanity.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because as we think about your story and other people's stories like this, where we've tuned into that inner guidance, that intuition, and we've lost things
Mm-hmm.
seemingly. There's that moment of, and everybody who's been on a spiritual journey will talk about this, you lose people along the way. And so sometimes for a lot of people, I think that's a deterrent to even starting, or a deterrent to following that light and life, because there is kind of a blind trust that has to happen that on the other side are more fulfilling, nourishing relationships, more love, more joy, that inner guidance becomes really our greatest asset and not something that is adding difficulty to life, even though in the initial stages it can feel that
Mm-hmm.
way. Do you have anything to speak to there around, how we turn that inner guidance into our greatest asset?
It's that whole concept of being able to truly, literally embody that concept of everything you need is within you. You hear it and it's kicked around a lot. And it's kind of like, a buzzword, buzz phrase, but to actually live it and embody it and allow. And that's the piece. It's allowing. It is, there's my favorite YouTube reader. Her name's Molly, and she's amazing. And Crossroads Meets the Ocean Road is her channel. And we've had conversations together. I've had readings with her and been on her podcast. And one of her phrases that she uses is, you walk by faith, not by sight. And so when you can allow the universe to show you that it has your back, when you can allow for that, it will show you. It will show you things outside of yourself when you need that knowledge outside of yourself to be reflected back to you. But it's always reflecting back to you what's within you. So it's a choice. You have to choose to invite the universe. And I'll give you an example. A couple of weeks ago, my car wouldn't start. And I was like, oh God, she's old. She's 15 years old now. And I'm like, oh, is this the beginning of the end? I hope not. So I said to the universe, instead of just, wigging out, I said, all right, universe, wow me. I invite you to wow me with the greatest and highest outcome that I can choose from. I choose the highest timeline, and I cannot wait for you to wow me. Well, let's see. Literally within an hour of saying that, I checked my email and, oh, wouldn't you know it, DoorDash and Lyft have partnered, so you get $10 off 2 rides this month. Well, I needed a ride back home after my car got dropped off. She took a jump and I was able to drive her to the shop. And so I got a ride back home. That was free, except for the tip. And then to go back and get her when she was fine, which she was, her battery I just needed to drive her more. Everything was fine. That Lyft drive was also, the ride was also free. And all they charged me was a little bit of labor. And that was it. She's fine. She didn't need any work. I just have to drive her more. And so, like, literally, it was the best outcome. And so when we choose to, because the universe lives to serve us, and it doesn't, not in a slavery way, but it's like you go to the restaurant, you place your order, and then you wait for it to come. You wait for it to arrive. That's what you do with the universe. And that's how you're able to start small. And then you will find that more and more often you're able to allow the universe and invite the universe to have a greater hand at play in the events in your life. And you just watch and wait. But the number one key is allowing and inviting. And we're not taught that, because that is a very feminine, being in our divine feminine energy. And we have been so programmed, like you were saying, to, not trust your intuition and to just receive, because it is seen as laziness or inaction, and not valuable and not, provable. But there's nothing more provable than you having your own one-on-one personal experience with the divine, having a hand in your life.
Yeah, I think that there's like, as you said, that part of the struggle for a lot of folks is believing that that's what's happening, or trusting, right? Like, okay, this just happened. I mean, it could be a random coincidence. That's often how we play off these
Mm-hmm.
moments. And so not only do we not invite them to happen more frequently, but we also dismiss them and we don't feel into the magic. And I think that part of that learning to live into the intuition, the intuitive parts of ourselves, and co-collaborating with the universal energies is that shift of your own energetic way of interacting. You know, even if you hadn't received the lift coupon, there's that levity to it. Like, what is this having to show me? What is, you know, this situation is for my highest good in some way. What am I learning from it? And even though, like, it's not to diminish the hard things in life, are still
Mm-hmm.
hard, and when we don't spiral down about them, we don't add to the
Mm-hmm.
hardship. I think that's what I'm trying to get at,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, in that moment, you could have gone into a doom spiral, despair. You could have felt like, why me? Oh my gosh, all of those things. Even if the whole outcome had been the exact same, free lift rides and all, you would have spent those hours feeling awful. And instead, there was playfulness and lightness and joy in it, which allows for more wonder to come in, and our experience of life to simply be more magical.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I won't say I did not drop a couple F-bombs when I sat in my car.
Oh, that's
Like
fair.
I had that moment. I will tell you I had that moment.
Yeah.
But yeah. And also now that I go back, I have to tell you also, this was on it. Like I usually go visit my son on Tuesday nights for dinner. And I was like, well, this was a Saturday. The universe is like, go drive her, go drive your car. She needs to drive. I'm like, okay. So I went out to drive her and she wouldn't start. So had that happened, and this has happened before, on a Tuesday, I would have missed seeing my son. So I even let the
Yeah.
universe drop that in. I have practiced listening so that when the universe speaks, I hear it, and then I choose whether or not I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to follow it. But I have learned when I don't,
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes, I'm sorry. So had I not listened this time, I
Yeah.
would have missed seeing my son. And it was for my birthday dinner.
Yeah.
So that really would have sucked. And it was already
Oh,
belated because
right.
he had been sick a couple weeks before that, and then his dad was sick after that. So it was like 2 weeks later, and it would have been even later. So had I not listened to my intuition already with that, just would you go do this? I was like, you know what? I think I will. If I hadn't done that,
Yeah.
I would have had a very different week. So, but I was
Mm-hmm.
able to go
Yeah.
bring
Oh,
her
that's
down
very
Monday
cool.
morning. They put her on and
Yeah.
gave her a little drip charge Monday night. I had her back Tuesday afternoon, headed right off to dinner with my kid. Thank you, universe.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
again, it's that
Yeah. It's,
allowing. It's allowing. Like I was when I was
yeah.
I did that. I did that. And then
Yeah.
I took a breath, had a drink of water, and then said, okay, universe, I'm going to switch this up. And then I did the let's show me, show me.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Obviously, there is always an allowance for the regular human reaction and response. It's the catching it before it gets out of hand and
Yeah.
controls you, right? Yeah. Yeah. And that listening and hearing those nudges, and especially in, this story showcases how, like, quote unquote nonsensical sometimes these nudges are, that sense of like, why do I need to go drive my car? I don't need to go anywhere moment. But then saying, well, what's the harm in listening, right? What's the harm in doing it? I had a friend recently share with me about a scenario where she had one of those really strong intuitive nudges that on the surface really didn't make
Mm-hmm.
sense, but underneath there was a real need. She'd had a friend in surgery at the hospital who had just touched base with her saying, I'm out of surgery, everything's fine, you can come see me tomorrow. And my friend was at work, and about half an hour into being on her shift, she was like, I need to go to the hospital right now. There was no reason she should have thought that way because her friend had just contacted her to say she was
Mm-hmm.
fine. But she was a server. She hadn't had any tables yet. She talked to the manager. It was a quiet night. He was like, go ahead. And she got there just in time to hold her hand as she had code blued. Like, she was internal bleeding, and they had to open her stomach back up, and it was ulcers that were bleeding, and she was, head down, and she got there just in time to be that presence, hold her hand while they saved her. And so just those moments of like, what's the harm in following the nudge? And so there isn't one. There never is, because our intuition doesn't guide us astray, even if it feels kind of weird or scary or like nonsensical to follow those nudges. We never regret doing so.
Mm-mm. No, but we will regret.
Yeah.
We will find ourselves kicking ourselves when we don't listen. So
when we ignore it. Yeah.
So
Yeah. And how do you, in the work that you do with people, how do you help them start to hear that intuition better, to listen to it, to trust it? Do you have any kind of wisdom to offer there?
Well, everybody can usually find a place in their life. I'll ask, okay, was there a point in time where you had an inkling? I would call it an intuitive hit, but we're starting out, from, an inkling that maybe you should or should not do something, but you didn't listen to that. Mm-hmm. And so I will ask people to take from their own life experience, share with me what happened. And usually it's I didn't listen and then I regretted it, and here's why. And I say, okay, well, that is your intuition guiding you. And we'll go through conversations, or a conversation where there are more. And then they come up with other things in their life. And all of a sudden they have this pile that they've pulled from their own experience, that they have discovered themselves, of times that their intuition has come in and tried to give them information. And I said, okay, now think of all the things that we just talked about and how they would go differently. And that's your intuition coming in. That's your higher self speaking to you. And so to me, the work I do is highly experiential, because the only way that we can actually embody, and I just love that word, embody the divinity that we are, is to experience it for ourselves. And so when we can pull from our own life experience, that's the most powerful thing. We don't need somebody outside of ourselves, a guru, telling us this, that, and the other. We need to come from our own life experience. And that's how we start to, what I've lovingly started playing with, empower ourselves. It's the concept of empowerment, but you're pulling from your own power. And it's that you have everything you need within you. So the first thing is to invite them to find things in their life that have happened. And I haven't come across anyone yet who hasn't. So that's the first thing that we do, is say, okay, let's explore. Let's talk about, let's have you experience.
And it's something you bring up there makes me think about how useful it can be to keep a little, like a notes on your notes app on your phone or something, of moments when you heard your intuition and what you decided, whether you followed it, whether you didn't, what the outcome was, even in those small stakes scenarios, so that you can start to bring more awareness to the moment. Often, especially at the beginning, you'd be looking backwards and being like, okay, here's a list of times, but now can you bring that awareness into your day-to-day? I often have my clients, tune into their bodies. Do they want coffee or tea in the morning? Really little, tiny, low stakes moments of connecting with that intuition and allowing it to guide them. And especially in those scenarios, even, you can go like, oh, I want tea, not coffee. Well, what happens if you make the coffee and drink it? It's probably not going to be catastrophic, but you get that sense of like, oh yeah, it didn't feel good in my body today, right? Like there was a reason my guts were a little bit turmoily, and now I'm spending more time on the toilet than I would have usually, even though I have coffee every morning or whatever it might be. Oh yeah, the power of writing it down so you can reference it, because our brains are not meant to keep all of that information front and center. We think we're going to remember something really well, and we don't. Our memories are very, very, very fallible.
They are. They absolutely are.
Yeah.
Yep. And I love that. Yeah. Just the little things every day, because that's what we do next. I'm like, okay, would you be open to exactly what you said? Just little things, listening, little things, just once a day, just little things, just waiting. And some people, yes, like I'm one of those people too, like my body will decide for me. Well, not decide for me, but it will let me know. and it's not even something
Yeah.
about necessarily what I'm putting in it. It's waiting for that full body yes or no. And that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of going into the realm of human design, where some of us are, driven by that kind of a response, and other people with a different type of
Mm-hmm.
human design are driven by a different kind of response. But the body will never lie, no matter who you are. And so to trust your body's wisdom is one of the greatest gifts you can
Yeah.
give yourself and everyone around you.
Yeah. Yes, and listeners will be very familiar with that
Here you
because
go again.
I speak to that all the time. Yeah, here we are again circling all the same topics because they are so important, and so many of us have come to this wisdom through our different paths and have different perspectives to share on it, but it's so cool how the same topics and themes tend to come up over and again. In terms of the work that you do with folks, I know you have kind of multiple different ways that people work with you, connect with you. What are you most excited about right now?
Oh my gosh, I have to pick one thing.
I mean, you can pick a few.
Well, see what I'm going to show everybody now. I'm going to tune into my body now and go through mentally the things that I have, all the
Mm,
irons I have in the fire, and see which one burns brightest for me.
mm.
See which one my body goes, yes. So yeah. Okay. So it is my Phoenix Rising community, closely followed by my Starseed Leadership Alliance. And sometimes there's crossover, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
So in the Phoenix Rising community, that's where I work with people in part of a greater collaborative of the thought leaders that we mentioned before. So this collaborative is built on the concept where everybody has a zone of genius. We all have something that we are
Mm-hmm.
amazing at. And we also have things that we
Mm-hmm.
suck at. And so the whole point of this collaborative that is built from other communities coming together and collaborating is
Mm-hmm.
our zones of genius can be the things that other people suck at, and vice versa. And so we're real
Mm-hmm.
people. Our motto is real people helping real people in real time. And so we're able to be on
Mm.
Zoom calls. We have a virtual office. Hey, I need help with this. Hey, I need help with that. And the thing I love most is we don't do anything alone anymore. Like literally anything. If I don't want to be alone doing XYZ, we're worldwide. So there's
Yeah.
always somebody hanging around in the virtual office. We have different ways that we work
Oh,
together. Yeah,
fun.
and we have what we call get shit done sessions. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that word, but
Mm-hmm. No, you can swear
okay,
all you
well,
want. Swearing is I have an episode that's titled Fuck Descartes, and the episode that came out this week was We've All Done Shitty Things. So yeah, you're good.
my then husband would call me Sailor Dawn because he's like, you can put a sailor to shame. I'm like, F yeah, I can. So I was trying to be tempered
Yeah.
today, but it's part of who I am. So and that's part of the magic, that you
Yeah.
can be. You can be dropping F bombs. Like I literally will be dropping F bombs, and
Mm-hmm.
then like a minute later, I'll be like, oh, here's a download from the universe, and like this wisdom comes out, and it's just like, and I just say,
Mm-hmm.
that's how it be with the universe. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. My mentor swears like a sailor. She always warns people. She's like, "You're free to have your kiddos with you on the call, but I will swear."
they're gonna learn some colorful
Right? It's
language.
coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we do there in the. It's called the Mingle Learning Collaborative, and it's like a mall of all the different stores and
Mm.
all the different other communities that populate it and work together. So it's like when people join my community to work with me, they don't even have to work with me in the intuition arena. I have a workshop that I do called Tapping into Your Business's Inner Wisdom. They don't have to take it. They
Mm-hmm.
could do whatever. If they want to work with other people and the things that they do, it's business, networking, marketing,
Mm-hmm.
branding, all those wonderful things. And if that's what they need, they can go work with everybody. I'm just like JC Penney's, and I know I'm like aging myself. You can come in to the mall through JC Penney's. You don't have to shop if you don't want to, but you can. And then you have access to the whole mall. You have the run of the place. And that's how it works. And I
Right.
just love it because we just help each other. And hey, I need help putting up this landing page on my Wix site, or I need help with my finances. And even people who
Mm-hmm.
we have multiple people who work in the financial industry in there, but they all do it in different ways. And so it's great.
Right.
And we're all just there
Yeah.
together. So I love that because we are there helping each other in real time. And if I can't be there to help, I'll be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
hey, somebody else can. They're in their office. Why don't you go see them? And I pop in there and
Right.
and it's like this. We talk like this. And it's personal stuff too.
Yeah.
I have cried. I have laughed. We eat together. We just live together. We meet in person
Mm.
when we come together. We meet in person and hang out and we'll visit each other. Just hop on a plane. Hey, I'm going to be here and you're in the area. Let's go do a thing. And so I have loved that model so much. And it has helped me grow my business and have collaborations that have just
Mm-hmm.
evolved organically.
Mm-hmm.
Books, multi-author books, music, an oracle card deck have all been collaborations that have naturally just come from playing with other people in the space. And so I took that idea and I
Yeah.
brought it over into the Starseed Leadership Alliance, which is the Discord community I have for starseeds to help those of us who I believe through my experiences, dreams that I've been given, intuitive hits, that as
Mm-hmm.
that reality of full and open contact, with our ET family arrives, there are going to need to be those of us who are here not shitting our pants and able to receive, them, first of all, in love, and then
Mm-hmm.
also to be the ambassadors between them and the people who might not be so ready for that as we are.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Right.
wanted a space where those of us who are answering that call in whatever ways, we all have different missions. Some of us are more about security and that kind of a thing with, the forces who would not see these things happen where we evolve. So that's kind of the mission they
Right.
work on. And then there's me who is here to bring people together and support and be like, you can do it, and we're there. We get to go on the voice channel, or we have, biweekly meetings, or it's just in the chat. And so we're able to really come together in lots of different ways all over the world. So
Very
yeah, I
cool.
love that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I love all of this is I like the way you speak about the community aspect for both. It's just that divine feminine
Mm-hmm.
leadership, right? That's how the feminine leads when we let it, is in collective community support, connection, not
Mm-hmm.
competition. It's such a beautiful space that you've created. And links for all of these, for the Phoenix Rising community, for tapping into your business's inner wisdom workshop, and the Starseed Leadership Alliance will all be in the show notes below. Before we wrap up today, is there anything else, any final word of wisdom or anything you want to share with listeners?
Um, just stay grounded no matter what. And this is always, always the message. And this is what I get from the universe, is just to stay grounded no matter what is going on around you outside the world. You are safe, you are protected, and all you need is your breath. It's you, your breath.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you have that, no one can take anything from you. And just understand that that peace that you wish to see in the world, it comes from within. So we're coming back to that whole concept of empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you need is within you. So even if everything is falling apart around you, just breathe and know that you have your breath. And that is your sign that all is well. And then you will see that reflected back to you. So just to know all is well.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here with us today, for sharing your beautiful wisdom, your gifts with us. It's been a real pleasure chatting with
Oh,
you.
thank you, Eileen, for having me. Thank you, everyone, for listening and receiving. I appreciate you all so much.
And for all of you listening, if you enjoyed this episode, please give a like and subscribe over on YouTube. Give a rating or review if you're listening on Spotify, on Apple, wherever you're listening to this podcast. And I will see you back here this time next week. Bye for
Bye,
now.
everyone.